So here we go.
There it is.
Caught in the middle zoo.
Well, yeehaw! It's Saturday, and we're all here, and we're not gone. I promise. We're just really busy. In fact, that's why we have Jeff and we have Andrew here, and we have their nice logo there. If you didn't know, Cave Spring Canopies is quite the establishment these days, or is going to be. We know that, right?
Yeah. We're trying. We're doing our best.
We're all trying. But, definitely you guys have quality product and put it first. And so all that work has kept you folks busy. I'm busy. So we're here today to say, hey, we're still alive. We promise.
Just constantly in the lab. If no one can find us or get hold of us, it's because we're bent over in front of a flow hood, breaking our backs. So y'all have something delicious to eat.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend eating my Petries, however. I don't add enough sugar that they would be very tasty.
Do you remember? Go ahead.
I've been asked by my wife before, what would happen if you ate that like a fully colonized dish? And I'm like, depends on what it's colonized with, but you probably wouldn't love it.
Right. Yeah, you might feel a little off. You might, if it's lion's mane, it might do just fine.
Be very awake. You'll be ready to go afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know. After seeing that picture they passed around the last few days of that frog with the living mushroom growing off of it, I think I'd be hesitant to eat any living mycelium.
I have not seen that picture. I don't think I want to see that picture.
Yeah. It looked like a mycenia from what people were saying.
A mycenia?
Yeah, on a living frog growing off the side of it. But, these days, how do you know if what you see is real? Because the AI is so good, you could make anything you want.
I see a lot online. These nature pages will post a picture of a bird that's obviously not real. It's got a billion colors and it's got like tie-dye eyeballs, and people will comment, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Nature's beautiful. And I'm like,
that's how easy it is.
That's actually becoming a pretty big problem on Facebook right now, because people will post fake mushrooms and then be like, yeah, this is real. And then people will be like, okay, then what's its, classification name? And they're like,
Statius GPTus.
Right. I wonder if like the genetics vendors have figured that all out and they're just making things up. Because I can tell you, like myself, just playing with old mushroom pictures, I've gone in there into AI, and you can tune down the AI to like 20 or 30%, and it'll make things look totally different. It'll make an oyster look like something that somebody from a hippie fest wants to eat,
Yeah. Sometimes things come out looking a little bit more psychedelic than they really are. And you go, that's not a real thing.
Right.
I always thought that ink caps looked really kind of like they should be an active mushroom, but they're
right,
not.
Because they're melting.
Yeah. A little strange.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Ziggy, what's spring? Well, when do ink caps usually start fruiting?
I'm going to be honest, that I don't know off the top of my
I
head.
think the ones I see fruit pretty much year round. If they're in the temperature zone, in the spring they're up, in the fall they're up. But
Ziggy, there's a stump in my backyard, man. We're talking ink cap clusters like this big. It looks like there's 100 little bird eggs on it when like they start pinning. It's beautiful. I've got some pictures. I'll send you later. They're great. Like, I don't eat them, but love looking at them.
Yeah.
So what's the real history on that name? Is it just because it's black and inky looking, or did they actually use it for ink at some point in time?
Okay. While Ziggy's answering that, I'm going to research it, and I'll give you a real answer.
There you go.
This is one of those questions I'm going to have to say I don't really know. I would imagine that the actual way that it liquidizes has something to do with its Latin name. It probably actually describes the process of liquefaction. But where I live, their common name is lawyer wigs.
That's right. Yeah. I remember you saying that before, and I had to think about it because you really got to think back to the pictures of like the Declaration days when they were still wearing the English wigs. All the judges and officials and rich folk. I don't know why that was so.
According to Wikipedia, and it's Wikipedia, but they apparently the black liquid that is released from them, and it doesn't tell me the name, which is a shame. Tippler's Bane. Yeah, Tippler's Bane. It was used as ink. So
Okay.
cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
Neat.
I mean, it makes sense. It stains the ever living shit out of everything. Like, what I see is not my inky caps. They're in the same, family. I see the little, what the heck are those edible ones that I like to get? Now I can't remember what they're called. Those little shuttle looking guys. They're in the inky cap family. I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah, that's one of my
Shaggy mane. There we go.
Okay, I did.
Shaggy.
I whispered it. I don't know if anyone ever heard me. I whispered it silently. Sure. Like when you're. In
I haven't
class,
had enough
when the
Lions
teacher
mane today.
asks
Apparently,
a question and you know the answer, but you're like, well, "That was Ernest Hemingway," but you don't say it loud enough.
Right? But they will, they'll stain the death out of like my carpet in my truck. I left a couple under there, and I thought, oh well, it's cold enough overnight. It's like a refrigerator, right?
No, it's gonna.
See,
I can't imagine you like walking in the next day, just looking up. Well, fuck.
Oh no, I reached my hand because like this was my Tacoma, so the seats kind of lay down, and there's only good 6 inches in there, and it's a little dark corner. I just reached my hand in there and grabbed the pile of goop.
Good. Mushrooms
like
do be
black
gooping.
cheese, yummy.
Yep.
No,
I thought it would actually be a really good prank. Like, I mean, it just killed the carpet. Like, there was no getting it out. I just put.
Oh yeah,
I
that'd be
just went
such a
and
great.
bought
Yeah, pull that prank on
mats
me.
over it.
You'll be replacing my carpet.
Yeah.
Hey, good prank. I stained your shit.
Better prank. Put a bunch of them in a Ziploc bag. Put that Ziploc bag underneath the toilet seat, so when somebody sits down,
I'll be
all
right
over the
back.
back.
I have to go check my pressure canner. It's building pressure right now, and
yeah,
Very good.
I think y'all have the same model, dude. I'm 90% sure y'all have like.
Well, I have
same
two of the big ones. So I have the 75X, the electric one, and then I have the stovetop version of the same one. So
sorry about that.
they both
Which,
work pretty well. I just like the 75X because you can just flip the switch and leave the thermostat on the setting, and you don't ever have to mess with anything. I mean,
That's what I have going right now. Is the
same thing.
75X.
That's what I thought.
We could pack so much into that. Can I ask you a question about the 75X?
Sure.
I have and Ziggy has seen this. He saw this last weekend. He's seen it before. Do you use the bucket that you slide down into it?
So I do, but I don't use it for everything. So like if I were using what you want to call it, the bottles, like my bottles, my media bottles, I use the sleeve because it's easier to take that whole big sleeve and set it out on the flow hood and move my media faster into the clean zone. But like if I were running grain, I would not. I would pull that basket out and I would put the grain directly on that lower plate.
The little rack that goes down. Yep.
I'd probably build a new one. Honestly, the ones they give you are kind of shit. Mine fell apart
I think
the first day.
Myers Mushrooms sells a really good stainless steel one that I've been looking at. I'll probably purchase it sometime soon. But the reason I was asking that is because when we vent this thing, water pours out of it like it's Niagara Falls. Like the top vent, when I switch it, just water comes out a lot. And it's because it's pooling, the steam's pooling in that insertable bucket. And
okay, so the real question you should be asking me is, do I use that stupid snorkel that comes with it? And no, I cut my snorkel the hell off.
Okay, that's a very fair. That's what it is that thing goes down, right?
I don't know what it's called, but I call it a snorkel.
Like even if I just cut it halfway off, so it was just halfway down that guidepost. But so you just cut it off at the top?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Okay.
the premise is, if folks watching don't know, that inside the AA cleaner in the lid, there's a little hose on the out steam port. So it goes into a little trough inside that container, and what it does is it forces the steam to go around that bucket down into the top through whatever you have in there to escape through that little tiny hole and then escape out through the top. Well,
Yeah.
it's great, but what ends up happening is you end up needing a second rack inside of your dang insert because you accumulate water in the bottom from the steam.
Mhm.
And if you're shoving bags in there, it creates a direct stream of steam that's hot enough to make those bags melt. And so you have to be really careful how it goes in there, where it aligns, and how hot that you allow that bottom to get. You don't want to turn it to high. You want to have it set to your thermostat setting so it heats up at a moderate pace.
Yeah.
I just ended up cutting mine out, and I would definitely recommend, if you're doing grain, that you either get that rack from Myers, or you make one. Like, what I want to do is make something out of aluminum that has a handle up at the top, and
Like
then
a basket. Yep.
yeah, like a basket. But you just you put whatever you're getting in there. Mine would be media bottles. I could fit more of them in there if I could, kind of have like a stacked insert in the middle. So, but with yours with the grain, you could make one and fit way more in there, and you don't have to worry about packing it into something. You load that thing and slide it in, and good to
Yep.
go.
I hear when you use something other than that insert it comes with, you free up a lot of room.
Yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, about 1 inch
Well,
diameter all the way around, because
Ziggy, we'll add that to the list of stuff that we want to do. I mean, right before this
right.
podcast, I was sitting there making more and more LC lids with our J loops so we can expand our genetics. And I mean, we always have a list of, hey, if we do this, this is a really good idea. So, modifying this pressure canner's
Yeah.
a good idea. We
Yeah.
eventually autoclave 150 liter, a little bit down the road if we can sustain things.
Well, and definitely, like I was telling you and Ziggy, get that replacement blowout valve. And it's funny because as soon as somebody told me that, literally like a week before mine blew out, somebody told me, "Hey, man, did you see about that post? Somebody said this is happening all over with AAs. You should really get yourself a replacement in case it happens." I'm like, "No, that's bullshit. I had mine for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. The first one, the second one I bought a couple years ago, and it was the second one that it did it on, the stovetop version."
You're talking about that little rubber cap, right?
Yeah, just that little tiny one that's kind of
They,
recessed in the lid.
I think AA knows that's happening because they sent 2 replacements with mine, and we ordered it earlier. We ordered it like at the end of 2023. I think maybe.
Yeah.
Like
What I
September.
noticed when I went to put mine in, like the instructions in the little packet says clean it really well. Well, I looked in that orifice where it was set, and there was obviously some sort of adhesive that they used
Yeah.
initially, and it was still there, not stuck to the rubber, but like I had to clean it off. So it wasn't even on there. It was, just a little spurt on 2/3 of the hole. So, like, probably that's the issue, is whatever thing inserted that in there didn't do it quite right.
We definitely, at least I'm not sure about Ziggy. I need to learn more about preventative maintenance, checking those valves, checking the seals and stuff like that.
I'm in the same boat. I
Yeah.
still I get a pitting in mine, and I know that there's ways to treat it and prevent it. And, I do what I can, but I imagine that it has to do with the water I use, because I use well water occasionally.
I definitely am not using the type of water I know. I know they say in the instruction distilled water only. Okay, yeah. When the company's doing better and we can afford to go out and buy that much distilled water, that's what I'll be doing.
Well, I did for a long time, and then COVID hit, and you could not find distilled water. Period. You just could not find it. You couldn't find bottled water in a lot of cases to save your life. In the jugs. And so I just said, well, screw it. I'm gonna use regular water, and nothing happened. It didn't blow up. Didn't develop crusties or anything.
Yeah, I mean, we clean pretty regularly, and I look for buildup, and I don't see any. But if it did get to the point where it was a concern, I would almost just look into what's the cost benefit of just distilling your own water source and doing it
Right.
on your own. So you're not even dependent on having to go out and spend God knows how much on 50 gallons of distilled water a month or something like that, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and if anyone watching knows anything about the preventative maintenance checks that we should do on these 75X from All American, that we should be checking things. If you have any literature on that other than what came with the manual, because we all read that, we definitely read that manual.
Sure.
Yeah. And then also about like distilling water, I would love to know more about that, because I mean, when you're trying to do things on a larger scale,
I'm pretty sure Ziggy knows something about distilling water.
Okay, so his eyes got really wide. Go ahead and answer that.
Yeah,
Water's
I know about
You
distilling
can do
water.
it with
Hold
the
on.
pressure cooker, actually. All you do is you put it in your PC and you take a hose off of the steam port into a little bottle. And so the steam blowing out goes through there and cools and turns into liquid.
Yeah, what
Well,
you want to
what
do
could
is
you even attach to that would not melt from the heat? Just
Oh, well, it's a pipe
metal?
fitting. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
it's
pipe fitting?
literally a nipple that you can put a pipe fitting on. But you can also unscrew it and put your own fitting there. People use that to do things much more, or much less legal, we'll say.
Does this have to do with marijuana?
No, it's alcohol. Distilling alcohol. People use it to distill spirits. It's like
okay.
it's like
Like
an
moonshiners?
at-home, super simple, make yourself a still that will totally explode if you do it wrong. Not a good idea. I mean,
Not a
but
good
you
idea.
can
Okay. So,
for
yeah,
water.
just putting that
It will work
disclaimer
just
out
fine.
there. Don't do this at home.
Yeah, no, but for water, it would work just fine.
I found an instructable
I gotta go
how
check
to
pressure.
distill water.
Yeah.
I found an instructable.
Well, Bear Grylls even has a how-to on distilling water. In fact, I think he did it to distill his piss with a what do they call it? A solar still.
That man needs to calm down with his piss drinking.
I don't know. I
Oh,
just like that we all find out that he was going home to or going to hotels at night.
Yeah.
Sleeping in a bed.
And it's just like, I don't know, like a lot of places that he was at, there was water sources. It's like,
Right. Well, I'm gonna demonstrate here. Yeah, I like the one where he was in the desert and he had the snake
Yeah.
skin and he peed in the snake skin and then drank that. Like, can there be a more disgusting thing to imagine you drinking? Like. I think I'd rather go through the dehydration process.
Yeah. Yeah. Some new aquatic mushrooms were discovered recently. Some
Yeah.
underwater ones.
Well, I saw some in Oregon. Actually, is it the ones that are in the Rogue River in southern Oregon, or is this a different one?
I'm going to check because you know who I sent it to.
Yeah.
He was asking
Your
about aquatic.
expert? Yeah,
No,
I've seen some that they said grew underwater, but they couldn't prove it here. They thought that it could have been something that grew and then the water level raised, and they took pictures of it. But then they found one in the mountains that did the same thing. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, fungus has got to be about the most adaptable thing on the planet.
To a scary degree. I'm not gonna lie to you. The more I learn about like the more rare mushrooms out there, the more I'm just like, these things are fucking aliens, man. Like,
oh yeah, like I got to thinking about that the other day. Like, what if mushrooms solely by themselves, not by taking over other people or whatever, became fully sentient? Like, what would that look like? Because
it wouldn't look good for us.
Well, yeah, for sure.
well, it depends kind of how you define sentience, because you can talk about ectomycorrhizal species these species that have pairings with trees, and you can have a network of trees that are all connected by this mycelium, right? Well, let's say tree A over here, for whatever reason, it's sick, it can't produce food, there's something wrong with it. Well, tree B is like, well, I have plenty of sun and plenty of food. It can pass food along the mycelial network to the unhealthy tree to help keep everyone together as a group alive.
Right.
And so if they are sentient and they maintain those capabilities as well, I mean, well, like Matt asked, what would that even look like? What would
Right.
a sentient fungus even want to achieve?
I
mean,
find
it's
it
already
pretty
everywhere.
interesting for sure.
it's
Especially,
already
I'd love to
everywhere
know
as
the
it is.
science behind that, because the only thing that I've seen that claims that really is the fantastic fungi and that narrative, which is great. I love watching it and I love that idea, but I didn't hear any about how the hell we figured this shit out. Like, I mean, it sounds great. And if
But
that's
you didn't see
100%
any
true, I
sources
agree.
or
But
citation that said, "Hey,
well, how do you test shit under the soil? How do you know that the nutrients are passing from bumfuck Egypt over here to bumfuck Egypt over here? I mean, you're gonna take samples of the soil and test it. I mean, I'm sure they have science behind it, but like I haven't heard anything that other than just here's a great idea. Do you know any of that, Andrew?
I don't."
A little bit. I know a little bit. Essentially, the way that I understand it, and don't quote this because I don't have firsthand knowledge on this.
I'm writing it
I
down.
haven't.
I'm spelling it correctly.
Yeah. Get the notepad. Wait, I've got
Go on.
The-
I'm putting this all over the internet, and I can't wait for people to just chime in very respectfully.
Oh, they're gonna be mad at me because I'm the one over here talking shit. So you're all good.
No, I can already think of like 2 to 3 people that are going to be upset that I say this. Okay, so the way it is explained to me is essentially there is a bacterial system, a positive bacterial system that is also working with this mycelium, right? And this bacteria or multiple bacteria become present or non-present depending on the type of communication that they are trying to make. So this tree is sick. This bacteria becomes present. It's like a binary code. It is on. This tree says, oh, that bacteria is turned on. I need to do a response to this. And so it ends up sending something as a response. Now, are they actually thinking? No. It is a one-to-one response, bacteria present. Okay, we will react this way. It is not, should we react this way? It's, this is here, so we're going to respond. It's the same as if a tree gets a fungal disease or something like that. It's just a response.
It's like a biochemical response to whatever's happening.
I love Ziggy so much. This is what I love about Ziggy, right? We're talking about something completely like almost seems abstract, right? Matt asks this question: how could you possibly even prove something like this? This is an elaborate idea. It's a great idea. But where do you even get the science behind that?
Right.
And then Ziggy comes in. Actually, I do have to
That's why I asked, I figured, well, wait a minute. We got Ziggy here. He might have some science behind it,
I was not expecting him to just articulate an answer like that. And he surprises me with this stuff all the time.
But this information, as I said, one of my biggest holdouts in science is people get some positive results and they instantly want to make a definitive statement.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We got what we wanted. Let's say it's definitive. Incredibly cautious. Oh, did I go out?
Yeah, you kind of
Just
paused.
Just for a second.
You were doing like the zombie too. So, you're freezing a little bit now.
It's okay. I actually know exactly what he's about to say, so I'll just pick up where he's leaving off.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I have no idea what he was about to say.
I was waiting.
No.
Had me going.
Well, I was going to say, I want a big enough sample size before I say something to flee. You know what I mean? Like one study is not enough. You need multiple sources. You need people collaborating. So while that is something that I and other people think, we don't have enough information to say definitively this is what's going on.
Right.
What do you think the timeline is on that, though? Like, before we do have a definitive answer like that?
It really depends, because a lot of this research is citizen mycology these days. You know what I mean? Like, there are field, of course, but if you have a full-time job, and as you know, a lot harder out in the field. It's a lot harder. So close it down that the largest group of people that are contributing are limited by time, money, other factors. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
It might go slowly.
I that is something where I could kind of understand. I mean, Ziggy and I were looking about having some genome sequencing done earlier, and just the backlog that some companies are facing. Like, they had to put out an email, hey, don't send us any more samples. Like, we just have so much work to do. Please hold up. And
tells you where to invest. I'll tell you what.
It does. I'll be honest, I was a little bit surprised by how underfunded this entire portion of science is. I thought there was a lot more research going on than there was. I get into here and I find out, dude, most of the stuff that's being discovered is being discovered by hobbyists and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the big folks, they got money, and they like to do a lot of the the real science behind it, but they can do a lot of it in the lab, and there's not a lot of people that want to go out to the field that aren't already out there having fun. You might as well utilize the folks that are good about it. We got Ziggy over here cutting in and out, though.
He did send a message in chat. He said 5,000, and we could start doing that. So I think he knows probably the equipment that him and I need in order to start doing our own sequencing. Which, I mean, hey, there's a lot of times Ziggy will say, hey, I think this would be a good idea for us, and I'm all about it. So, I mean,
yeah. It's all about that ROI, especially when you're making investments, that return on investment. I'm still happy that I have the things I do, and even a lot of the extra equipment that I thought would sit around, it's turned into assets that I can sell now to get money and keep the business going. So, it's all about looking at the future, unfortunately.
It is. That is one unfortunate part, I guess, of the industry, is you might think of 1,000 things you want to do, and at the end of the day, you have to sit down and make a decision and say, I would love to do X, but we can only afford Y right now, and so we're sticking with Y until one of those doors open up for us. And
right.
you want to fund the science. You want to put a lot of money into getting a lot of this done. And I'm not a scientist, but like I see the passion behind it, and people like Ziggy and other people down here like Brandon Jennings, and like I would love to just be able to give them all the tools they need. Say, go wild, do whatever the hell you want with this stuff, because they do some really cool stuff. They really do.
Oh yeah. I would really just love to have a big common lab, where a bunch of us can get together and work together. Like, I've always just had a back room setup, and nobody's around these days. So I'm out in the woods, so people want to, but it's not my home to be letting a bunch of people in to work. So I need to get myself into a setting where I can really work. But in the past, I kind of shied away from investors, and like I pushed a few of them away and outright just told them to go to hell. And nowadays I think about it, I'm like, well, I can go for an investor or two.
you want to make sure it's the right investor, right? Like, you don't want to hand over 50% control of what you're doing to someone that you hardly know just because they've got money, right?
Right.
You want to make sure that person's just as passionate about all of this as you are. And let's be honest, there's not a ton of billionaires that are really into mycology. Maybe someone can reach out to Elon Musk. He seems to love
Right.
psychedelics, so maybe he might want to fund something. But other than him,
Yeah.
it comes to mind. Yeah. Hey, Matt,
Right.
looks like you're the guy writing
Matt's
the
got
email
to do it.
today.
Matt's got to do
Sorry,
it. He's
Matt.
got to talk to Musk.
Yeah, I mean, I already talk to Elon Musk all the time.
Elon Musk. Oh yeah. Great
Does
guy.
that count? In fact, I'm
Yeah.
sending him plates Monday.
Is Elon Musk a cultivator?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a friend. He's a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just an Instagram handle.
So you mentioned a common lab. What would a common lab look like to you? Are you talking about different organizations like Tree Dig and then like say the Florida Fungi, because that's just another company I know.
It just
Like,
really
they're
depends
sharing
on
a
whether or not I
space.
have people like another business that I was sharing a space with. But no, I think probably what I would do is I would actually set up similar to like these hydro stores have been done around here, and these garden stores that set up fungal labs for clubs. People pay to be a monthly member, and they can come in and use the lab for a certain amount of time, things like that. But I would do it differently, to where I would have my lab set up in a sort of like a transparent plastic tent, I guess you would say, and then I would have additional ones next to it, so the people in the club can go use the clean room next to me, and the people there can look into our work while we're working through the day doing production for whatever we're processing or whatnot. So draws people in not just to use the lab, but also to watch us, and would allow us to stream and show all the things going on all the time, But money dictates all. Basically, like, I had the opportunity, and what I should have done is I should have just dove full balls. I sold my house, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to buy a trailer and I'm going to buy a truck. I've got all these commercial sales. I'll work out of my dad's place for a couple months, and, I'll make a bunch of money. Well, as soon as I get set up and I'm ready to do those commercial orders, I lost them all. They all just disappeared. Like, that's $7,000 a month. Just gone.
Well, like,
mine,
I'm sorry, what disappeared?
my commercial accounts, or like the wholesale accounts, where I was selling 5,000 to 7,000 plates a month, so anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000 worth of plates just gone overnight.
Was that with one
Inventory
client,
was
multiple clients,
invested.
not trying to like date?
Multiple? Yeah, no. So
Multiple.
there was a couple, but they were all through the same individual that was training folks. So, essentially, what he did when he was setting people up was he'd have them buy my plates, and then they'd probably end up pour their own or buy from somebody cheaper. There's a lot of people that are a lot cheaper. Well, they were a lot cheaper, but the quality is not there, And if you buy 100 plates and you inoculate 100 plates, you don't just lose those 100 plates. You lose all the genetics you put on them. You lose whatever bags you put them into, potentially
You
any
lose the time that you spent on
fruiting,
it. Yeah, dude. Like, and this isn't me like, brown nosing or whatever, but I've ordered probably 500 to 600 plates from you by now, and just every single one has done its job perfectly. Like, I've got some wild enoki just thriving on your plate right now. Like,
Awesome.
the quality of your plates is great, and the price that we pay for them, I think, is very fair. I've bought other plates that were equal quality, and I've paid a lot more for them. So I personally do enjoy. I mean, I've been buying for you for almost 6 months now.
Yeah,
6 months now, and it's just been great. Everything gets here fast, in great condition.
Speaking of that, we were supposed to put it in order today. We completely forgot.
Yeah, we'll do that later. Yeah, I'm so low. I've got like 10 left. I was like, fuck,
Yep. I'm gonna pour more tomorrow. I did some fancy ones today. I got some gel and gum plates with I tried to do some with little hearts in them. Some of the hearts came out good. I used like a pinkish red mica color, and then I used some gold mica flakes and then some actual 24 karat gold flakes. And so it did some of like the radioactive looks to them. So,
what size did you do those in?
Those fancy ones, those are the 90s. Yeah, I thought about pulling out some 60s, but I actually ended up pouring less than I had even opened up. So I'll still have to rebag the 90s I didn't fill. But yeah, the gel and gum that I use is kind of a pain. Like I don't know. I'm working on new processes, trying to do it differently. I've watched a few videos on how people get it to set up better without using a ton of it. The way that I do it, yeah, Kurt, for Valentine's Day, exactly. I'm not into hearts any other day of the year. Well, I'm not really even into hearts for Valentine's Day, but you know, people will like it. It's cute. It'll be a good add-in for stuff. But
definitely marketing.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and that's what it is. And you know, people value not just a quality product, but you know, seeing that you have fun with it, seeing that you're out there showing what's going on and having fun. You know, teaching.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I see Matt like posting his videos of doing his pours, and I'm so much happier buying from someone who's starting their own thing up and passionate about it and doing their own thing than like, oh, I could buy from this lab in China that's producing 1 billion Petri dishes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, these days you got a lot of startups, you know. There's a lot of folks with can of money that see it as a good investment. Yeah. And so you'll see overnight folks that you didn't know were around that have these lab setups and these pumps, you know, shooting their agar into their plates, and you know, it looks real professional, but ultimately it comes down to reviews and word of mouth. You know, you can make a lot of money though really quickly in this industry. And, you know, I kind of had that brought to light recently talking to a friend, and like it gave me reason to understand why there's so many scammers in the community, because in a short amount of time folks can come in and just make a really, really large amount of money, like an absurd amount of money selling genetics and things like that, and not fulfilling orders because it's done over less professional channels in a lot of cases, like over messenger services and
or fulfilling orders with products that are, we'll be honest, grain bags that they're contaminated by the time they get to you.
Right.
Yeah. Or genetics that were never fruited before the person expanded them and started selling them and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, there's any kind of thing you can run into. What did you see the other day? Who was it posted? It was Woodmaster had one. He was asking people what it was because it got mismarked. You know, that happens a lot too. Just mislabeling things.
Well, and hey, that does happen. Don't
say it.
But when you mislabel them, or you know that, hey, I don't know for sure that's what this is. Like, say there's 2 guys hanging out in the lab last Saturday and they inoculated 12 bags and didn't label a damn thing because they were busy talking, right? You set those bags aside and you say, hey, we're going to tell people it's a mystery bag. You'll find out what it is when you fruit it, right? You don't tell them it's lion's mane when it could be blue oyster.
Oh, goodness.
Right. We've all done it, man. We've all done it.
He left Sunday. I texted him Monday. I said, hey, what did we do these grain bags with? And he goes, no, luckily these were just like 10 out of 120 we did that day, right? It was only just 10. But he goes, who knows? You know, like he took his guess, I took my guess. We decided no one knew for sure.
Bet. What did the winner get to eat them?
Well, whoever our good customers are at the Atlanta Mushroom Festival, we'll tell them, hey, these are gourmet. We didn't label them. It's a discount. You want it for $10, and they'll find out in a couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah. That reminds me. So, tell me about the Mushroom Festival. Didn't you guys get one that you're sponsoring? Is that going on?
Sponsoring not so much, because that's involving paying them and liability.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things going on. So that's the Georgia Mushroom Festival, and that's typically held here in Cave Springs, Georgia, which is where I reside with my wife and my daughter. Um, and that's usually hosted by Claudia. She great woman. She's just one of the biggest advocates for mycology and getting really good tools and people that need them. Like she's great. Um, there's been some issues with hosting the festival and the jam. So there's two events. There's the Mushroom Festival and there's the Mushroom Jam. Typically, they used to be on the same weekend, and one was a concert, and it would also involve keynote speakers that would talk about things like um, psilocybin research and that future. And then there was the Georgia Mushroom Festival, which was much more family oriented, and that was just for everybody. And the hundreds of vendors, really big thing, great for the town, lots of money for the town. Um, Unfortunately, this is where we live. There's a lot of stigma attached to mushrooms. Doesn't matter what type of mushrooms it is. You
That word. As soon as you say that
and after
word,
mushrooms, so they go, "Oh,
people-
what kind of mushrooms?" And you go, "Well, blue oysters." No, I don't know what that is. Well, then why are you judging me? But so it looks like the Mushroom Jam isn't happening this year, unfortunately. We discussed hosting it in Kingston, Georgia, which is where the Imagine EDM Festival is at Kingston Downs. Great venue for it, but not enough time, right, to get the paperwork done. And that happens. Claudia says the Georgia Mushroom Festival is still happening, and that is being hosted, I believe, as of now at Kingston Downs. We're partnering with them. So a lot of partnering with them is just me doing a ton of volunteer work for Claudia. If she says she needs something, we're going to make it happen for her.
Right.
If that involves moving supplies that she has, if that involves helping people park, helping getting the campsite set up, because there's camping. And I'm telling you what, if anyone plans on coming to the Georgia Mushroom Festival, you got to get a campsite and like spend overnight with this group, because you'll be talking about it for years. Everyone that comes out to this thing leaves it going, I didn't even know that humans were still having gatherings like this. I thought this was something that we left behind 30 years ago. Like, it's an outstanding experience. You've got a lot of people from the mycology world there. Like I said, you got Florida Fungi. That's Ivan. He's down in Florida, and obviously he's a great guy. He shows up there. Myco Cat, is that who that was?
Yeah, Myco Cat I know came last year.
Yeah. He was there last year. Rockefeller's there every year. I mean, you got just.
I think Rockefeller goes to every mushroom festival.
He does. He does.
Good.
He's such a nice guy. He's so friendly. He's everywhere. I don't know if Fungi Farms is going to be there this year. They have been in previous years, but you just get a lot of people. Nothing But Air, which is who provides a lot of flow hoods to people in the South.
Oh yeah.
We use his flow hoods, and they're great. Like, just great.
I think a couple other buddies, EB Fungi, that's another buddy of mine. He made it last year, I think.
Since I live an hour from there, I had the opportunity to go down there to his area and pick it up myself. And super great operation, very clean, very professional. I can't recommend.
Jake's a good guy, man.
Great guy. So Georgia Mushroom Festival, just go check it out. Like, it's something else, man.
What would it take to get tree digs at the festival?
Yeah, dude.
A plane ticket. Gosh. I mean, I just struggle financially these days. The business doesn't make a ton of money, but it survives.
My house used to be a B&B. We'll just host you for a week. You don't even have to pay for lodging. Like, you come down here, you ask Andrew, you come to my house, we feed you. We feed you good Southern style, right? You'll never have fried chicken like this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. One of the best meals I ever had. My grandma fried me up 2 guineas. Guineas are really greasy. Like, they're like the best bread. Guinea hens. Yeah, best fried chicken I ever had, man. I ate both those chickens in one sitting. I was like 18, fresh out of middle of basic training. In fact, that was good. Like, I went out and I ran like 2 miles after that.
Have you ever been to Alaska?
I have not. No, been to Canada,
They have,
like BC, but
they have this bird that's almost about the size of a guinea hen, except it's like bright, solid white. But they're so dumb that like almost nobody, even homeless people there, go hungry because you can just walk up to it and be like, stick, whack. Okay, I have dinner. Like you don't have to hunt them at all.
Where's this at?
yeah.
Alaska.
Yeah, I forget
thing in
what those
Hawaii.
ones are called. Those are they're like the grouse we have here,
Yeah.
and their only natural defense is camouflage. So like
Yeah.
they're supposed to be in snow. They're white in the winter, and they're supposed to just sit there and not move. It's like some sort of partridge, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
whack
good
on a
eating,
stick,
like little chickens.
eat 'em.
Yeah. We have grouse here, and they're kind of dumb, but they're kind of not. I mean, again, it's relative to their survival instinct. So we think of it that they're dumb because when we drive in our vehicles, they just sit there and stay stationary. But as soon as you step out, you put your foot on the ground, they see that and they assume that is the predator, and then they fly off. But so people will just run them over. And they'll be like, "Oh, these dumb birds," or they'll shoot them because they'll just sit there thinking they're invisible and let you shoot them and eat them. And they're good eating. They're little miniature chickens. Well, I get a lot of them, but I at least do it in a sporting manner. I use a 22 long rifle and go for a headshot. So
God bless you. God bless America.
yep, yes sir. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love my firearm. I really do. It's like I'm gonna count it. Tax season. We have an indoor firing range 1 block away. Just go down there during lunch, fire off a couple hundred rounds, go back. You're good.
Yeah, stress relief instantly.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. People look a little bit funny when you show up in a suit and tie, but they're like, whatever, he's fine.
Yeah.
Leave him alone. I will have to say my favorite poultry is duck, dude. Like roasted duck is just there's nothing better. Oh no, we lost him again.
We lost him again.
That's okay.
I wondered if he was pausing or just listening intently. There,
I thought he was listening intently.
Answers.
I had to go down there. I had to go down there and see him earlier today. I woke up and got my master mix hydrated, and I opened up my supply shelf, and I had 8 bags. So I had like 200 sent to his address earlier last week. So I was like, hey man, I need to stop by and grab like 100 bags, please. Thank you.
Right.
And, yeah. It's a. Is he alive now?
We were just talking about like, well, we both didn't know if you were actually like frozen or if you were just really intently listening.
Frozen that time.
Well, it's good to have fun, you know.
Yeah. Good news with the pressure canner, Ziggy. It's vented all the way back down to 0, and nothing blew up.
Yay.
So much water, man. I'm gonna look into what you said about like snipping that hose off, or maybe like so. The weirdest thing is if you look at the instruction manual for the 75X, it will say, "Yeah, go ahead, throw a rag in the bottom of this thing to soak up the water," and everyone else in the like that uses pressure canners will be like, "Hell no! Don't put a rag in there. It could like cause issues if it gets moved around. You know, you don't want it to block off the pressure blow off or anything like that. Even though it's in the bottom and underneath everything. So, like,
well, you know what I used is I had just taken a Presto." The little insert from the Prestos, they give you extra ones, and I've killed enough Prestos that I have tons of them. I just put one of those in the bottom of that thing.
Dude, I've destroyed my very first 2 Prestos, just the bottoms of them. You could, it's so.
Oh, you should have seen earlier. I didn't kill a Presto, but man, I killed a couple of my media bottles. Yeah. I had them on the heated stir plate, and I went to go put them in that same sleeve we're talking about, but there was water left in there, and I didn't notice there was water in the bottom, and it was cold. So I set the hot bottle in the cold water, and it was not a true Pyrex. It was one of those cheap Amazon ones.
Nope.
Cracked the bottoms out.
Almost instantly, yeah. Like, hey, I'll be honest. When we're buying stuff like that, we go for the best product, like the best thing that we can get. That's not ridiculous.
Yeah, if you're running a business, it's an investment. And so you need to look at the longevity of it. If it has the potential of breaking on you before it pays for itself, then it's not a good investment.
Absolutely. You know, that's the business minded thing is it costs a little bit more now, or sometimes it's a lot more now. You know, like when we're looking at autoclaves right now. Look at him working hard. Yeah, that's right. Make us money, Ziggy. When you're what the hell was I saying? We were talking
about money and investments and
dude, like
it's the return on it.
Yeah, it might even be a lot more now. We're looking at autoclaves, and there are some that are significantly cheaper, but you start looking at the quality of steel that it has, or the customer support that it has stateside, right?
Yeah.
Like if you need a replacement part, you need a repair, you need it serviced, you know.
Well, and something too, you may know all this already, but if you folks watching don't know, there are all kinds of autoclaves you can buy. But when you run a business and you have to insure the thing, when you put it in a commercial location, a public location, you have to talk to the fire marshal. And it has to meet fire code, or it is not legal to operate in the United States. So there are a lot of autoclaves that are out there cheaper that you can buy, and they'll work just fine, but they're not approved in your local area potentially.
No. And when you start thinking about, well, eventually we want to sell to restaurants or something like that, you're going to have a lot of people in your workspace inspecting the area that you've built, and it all has to be up to code. It does. Yep. And if it's not, they'll say, well, you're not doing business until you get this fixed.
Yeah.
And
that is one thing that I think will benefit me eventually is I worked in food manufacturing, and they have the same requirements for their production setups. And so like I've got a lot of experience seeing all of that, and I do that naturally. You know, like we were ISO 9000 when I worked it wasn't food, but it was a chemical plant, or ISO 5000. And then when we went to when I worked for the food company, what the heck was that place? Anyway, they dried fruit, and they were like ISO 150,000 or what. I didn't even. It sounded like some made up name to me, you know, when they said it. And like, well, what does that mean? Like, well, it means that we have this huge laundry list, and we have regular checkups by the FDA. Yeah. And like, you will spend 2 weeks prepping for the one they tell you about, and the other ones you prep for all year because they'll come check randomly. But
yep. And
pretty intense.
Even as such a small operation as like something that Ziggy and I are attempting, right? Which is just one region of Georgia. It's not even a region of the United States. We're just targeting one small part of Georgia right now. Like there's a lot of things that we're going to have to, that laundry list, just these 50 things are going to be done, and 30 of them are going to be quarterly or something like that. It's a lot.
Right.
But even though it's so much and there's all these lists, we're so happy to do it. We don't care. We're like, fine, throw whatever list you want at me. We're going to get it knocked out, and we're going to make sure that when your people walk in, they're going to look around for 30 seconds and go, okay, yeah, go nuts, have fun. Because we just love doing this so much, man.
Well, and I think really that's what you guys have found is you're each part of this puzzle that equates to a good working business. Like, you know, some of us are good at talking to people and making things happen. Some of us are good at doing the science. Some of us are good at, you know, fixing things, you know, and it's pretty awesome to see that. And especially with Ziggy here, because he's a good friend, you know, I'm glad to see you guys working out so well.
He's working so hard right now. Like, yeah, like just to show how hard we're working. Both of us have pressure counters running right now, but I mean, you know, you got to get it clean.
That's funny. You know, I've got agar sitting in front of the flow hood. It's ready to wrap, but it'll be easy. I've only got like 50 plates, maybe less than that. It's all that fancy.
Speaking of which, I have to go flip this pressure switch just so that I can. It has to start building pressure again. But it'll be 2 seconds.
I'll just dance a jig, you know.
I've returned.
You have
Those are really
returned. Well,
hot.
just in time for Jeff to leave. He had to go check his.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, I'm
the
not even
battle
done. I
of
just came back so you wouldn't be alone.
dueling banjos, you know. All right, now
Welcome
you're
to the
free to go.
podcast where Matt watches two guys work.
Basically,
Yeah.
I
People
just
like
are.
that though. You
We're
know,
the
they
worst
like
guests ever. We're just.
Well, you know, I think at least for me, the key is just getting out here and getting back on because it's so easy to get busy and think, okay, well, I've got to have this structured podcast this week and record it, and there's so many other things going on, and you know, lately, I don't know how much you know. One of our buddies got into some legal trouble, and so we've been battling to try and get him some legal representation, and you know, it's worked out pretty well, but it's stressed the hell out of everybody. You know?
Has he found luck finding someone to help represent him?
I don't think
Or
so.
is
I
that
know
something
he.
you don't really want to? I don't know how much, because I know
Yeah,
when there's legal problems, you can't really talk about a lot.
yeah. I
So
won't
I
give
don't
out like real solid
Yeah.
details, you know, about the cases. I don't know a lot, honestly, because I don't. At this point, I just know what I discussed. But so you know, they gave him a bunch of charges, some assault charges, and they dropped some of them, so he was able to make bail.
Yeah.
I think it's like any other case nowadays. They want to pile on everything they can initially, so that you say, okay, well, I did this much lesser crime that I actually did. I'll confess to that, so you don't have to spend money on me. In his case, he was like, no, screw that. I'm not gonna plead guilty to this assault charge, you know. And so he's got to get an attorney and deal with it. And I think, you know, with an attorney, he's got a good shot at beating it. But you know,
Good.
certainly
Well,
keep your anger in check, folks. You know, like
yeah,
try
man,
and
like
if you're gonna get mad at something, get mad at a wall or yourself. But don't do that either.
I used to have, look, this is not a real, I'm not telling, this is not real advice. Maybe, you know what? I'm not even going to say it. Never mind.
Yeah, so how about the Super Bowl? Does anybody watch that? I don't, but I
Oh,
hear
yeah.
it's
Well, I
going
just
on
can't
this
wait to see
weekend.
Taylor Swift on that screen. You mean the Taylor Swift viewing of 2024? Because that's all it's going to be.
Is that who it is? I thought it was somebody else, that it was supposed to be the longest show in history or something.
Oh,
like
I
that.
just meant Kelsey's girlfriend, because the Travis Kelsey or whatever his name is, every time she's at one of his games, the camera's always on her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
just-
I
yeah,
thought you were
and-
saying she was the halftime show. I got
No, I
you.
have no. I think oh, was it Testo, DJ Testo, or something like that? He was supposed to be part of the halftime show, and I think he just dropped out. I don't know. I really don't follow football.
Yeah,
I love when UGA
like
wins.
playing it.
I think
play
it
all
was
day
a
long.
crime that UGA wasn't in the college football championship this year, but like whatever.
Right.
Yeah, Bama's fine, I guess. I hate Alabama.
Yeah, a little bit of a rivalry there, eh?
My daughter is a huge Bama fan, and so every time they have a game, she puts on their shirt, and I'm like, "Get the hell out of my house! We don't even like. You're not even from there. You're just a fake."
Yeah, we have two universities here, one orange and one green. We have the Oregon State, which is orange, and the Ducks, which are green. You probably heard of the Ducks because they win a lot of games. They got a lot of money to do so. But the Beavers are the local team, and like that's where my dad went to school, and my brother went to school. So I'm of course a Beaver believer, as they call it. But that's an underdog. You know, it's the same kind of deal, but heavy rivalry.
Yeah, rivalry is what makes it fun.
Okay. I was like, what are those?
He's
Look like something that belong in a doctor's office from hell.
So we have a ton of grain jars inoculated, and they're colonizing very evenly and healthily, and I check on them every 2 hours because I love them. But we have like so many master mix bags to prepare, right, so that we can do that mix once they're fully inoculated. So him and I are just running master mix bags constantly right now, and that's what he's doing right now, and that's what I'm doing in there.
And you use soy holes for this one? That's the master mix blend.
Soy holes, yeah, we get them from Mushroom Media online.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the biggest guy in the street. I think Fungi Farm starts providing them, and then someone else Shoot, I think someone on Facebook either sent me a message or like mentioned me and was like, "Hey, if you want soy holes, um, I can provide them." I know who it was. Emma from Gowan Farms. I don't know if you know her. She's
Mm-mm.
runs one of the uh, mushroom cultivation farms in this area. I think she just mentioned that she was going to start providing them, and
Nice.
I would love to buy from her because she went to high school with my little brother. My little brother's my best friend, and they were friends in high school. So I would love to buy from someone that that my family's friends with, because you
Yeah.
want to have people out
Oh,
that
it's
you
good to do local too, you know.
yeah, dude,
As
local's really good.
that gentleman from Mushroom Media Online, Seth, he's a good guy too. Coincidentally, one of our friends, Andrew, and our friends Ryan Palmer knows him pretty well, and I believe, I could be wrong, but I think Ryan Palmer has his own discount code for that guy. I'd have to ask him. I know he has one for the other the place I get bags. Now, of course, I can't remember what that one is.
Mayor's
Um,
mushrooms.
What was that?
Mayor's mushrooms.
Mayor's
No.
mushrooms.
No, I get them from somebody else. Majestic Mushrooms. MajesticMushrooms.com. Good deals on unicorns. But, I don't know. Which ones are you supposed to buy now? Aren't we supposed to buy is it the unicorns or the other ones, the Pegasus?
Look, we clean our stuff really well, and I'm pretty sure no matter what bag we're using, it's going to come out great. Okay. My wife gives me a hard time because our website at the very top, big letters, it says "perfect mushrooms" every time, right? And she's like, "How can you know? How can you know?"
Because they're all perfect.
And I go, "Well, look, I'm going to know if the grains is messed up, and I'm going to know if the grow bag's messed up, right? Like when it's colonized. And we're not going to send a grow bag that had something funky going on with it. Even if the mycelium overtook it, like if we see any sign of contamination, that's just not going out. So that's how I know it's perfect mushrooms every time.
Right.
If
What the heck he got on his head?
Yeah, if the mushroom beds are out perfect, and no offense to, I'm not blaming a buyer, the customer's always right, but maybe the fruiting conditions weren't perfect. But the grow block, it will be what it's supposed to be, and it will,
Right.
without having to fight off some type of bacteria, which is like why we want to save up for an autoclave as opposed to atmospheric sterilization. Because
Right. Like the Bubba's barrels versus something like a high pressure autoclave.
And I know that blue oyster and a lot of those types can fight off bacteria. And they can overcome a lot. But, and I know that Ziggy can say this in more eloquent terms, science-wise, than I can. But if it's spending energy and resources fighting off bacteria, that dude's crazy. As I say something so confident in him,
Right.
it was summoned. If it's spending resources and energy fighting off of bacteria contamination, it's not going to fruit the way that you want. It's not going to give you the flush it would. It's not going to produce as much as it would. And we want it to produce really big, beautiful flushes so people can see them and go, Jesus, look at that. That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot like people always ask me why I go so over the top with everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't about being extra or going over the top. Mm-hmm. It's about ensuring that what you provide for people is going to be the best thing that they can get their hands on. Yep. And sometimes that takes being extra and going over the top for sterility, Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of ways that work. Doesn't mean that they're all the best, I'm not saying mine's the best. But it's good.
No, I am positive there are people out there, and I know I should say this as an owner of a business, you should be super confident, but there's people out there right. doing this 20 years longer than me. Of course, they're better at it than me. And those are the people I'm trying to learn from, right? Those are the people I'm going on Shroomery every night, letting them belittle me and talk down to me because that's what they do on the Shroomery. But I'm learning from them, right? Because they know
bigger man than me.
Oh God. It's like
I don't take that shit. I just like, nope, I'm done with you guys. Not talking to you.
Oh God, they can be harsh. Look, if you have thick skin and you want to learn how to grow mushrooms, you can go talk to those people. They're going to talk crap about the first 100 jars you try to spawn.
Right.
They're going to tell you to toss every.
Oh, you could show a perfect setup from start to finish. If you're a noob, you're getting talked to.
Yep.
Like,
yep. But they will teach you a lot.
buts.
They will teach you a lot. But yeah, it's the sterility, man. It's just, in mycology, the name of the game is being clean. Yep. The cleaner you are, the more successful you'll be. And so I see every compromise as a less superior product. And in business school, I learned if you're not providing a superior product at a very competitive price, you're not in the game. Yep. Period.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you gotta analyze that stuff constantly too, because as I've seen, I get complacent and think, hey, I'm competitive, I'm getting business, I must be doing okay, and then you start seeing business, taper off, and other people are doing a lot better because they're staying on top of it, and keeping up with what's new and what people want, And
they're doing research, I think, into finding. So we all have variable costs we have to pay. We have to buy, like Ziggy and I have to buy grain. We have to buy soy hull pellets, right? We don't want to buy an inferior grain or inferior soy, but if we're paying twice what we should be paying for a similar product, we're not going to be able to offer a competitive price. And if so you're right. It's staying on top of the technology. It's staying on top of techniques. It's also staying on top of the market and making sure that you're paying what you should be paying. That way, you're not having to pass those costs on to the customer. You're being able to not make them pay out the ass. Because I think Ziggy sent me a screenshot yesterday, and I won't say the company, but they charged $50 or $40 for a 5-pound grow bag, and then $30 for shipping. And I've seen their facilities. They're great facilities. They're very clean. I'm sure they're offering a really good product. Their products are really good, but that's also really expensive.
Right. Not a lot of people can afford that. And I see it with my own plates. You would think it could be a cheaper item, but people are not wanting to spend more than $20 or $40 at a time on supplementary things these days.
Because so many other things are expensive. They would like to pay more for certain things, but everything's expensive. But I do think that there are certain things where, like we discussed earlier, you pay a premium, but it's worth it. The pressure cookers, the flow hoods, and then auger. I pay a little bit of a premium for auger, but it's always worth it because it's always clean, and the mycelium always loves it. It just takes off in it every time.
Right. Well, it's all about what is valuable to you, and for me, I've always had a pretty high value to my time because I've always been in management, shown how much people get paid, see how much you get paid, and know that, okay, well, that person's time is worth $200 an hour. Why is my time only worth $10 an hour? Or why should my time not be valued at all? And you're just saying, oh, well, it's easy to do this. It's cheap to do it.
Your time should be valued. Absolutely. It takes time to do this work. I work a full-time job and I come home and I would like to sit down and watch a movie with my wife or Gilmore Girls for the 100th time, which is what she watches. But, I'm in the lab inoculating or hydrating grain. The reason I'm shaking so much is because my dog came in here. I'm not.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Mine's sitting here. He's saying, "You didn't feed me before you started the podcast, Tad."
It's a Sadie.
You know what? That's funny. I had a dog that looked very similar. Well, we didn't have it, but a friend's dog looked just like that. Her name was Sadie as well.
She's a really good dog.
You'll come up here and say hi, buddy. Come here.
She wants attention.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, there's my puppy. Oh yeah.
It's pet hour. Go get the cat.
All right. Okay. Mine didn't work out so well. He freaked out. If you look at where I'm sitting, there's not a lot of room for him to really
to stretch out. Mine could go to the couch, but she just likes sitting here staring at me instead, waiting for me to take her on a walk.
Right. Oh, there we go. There's the cat. Now, see if Buddy would have seen the cat, maybe he'd been more interested.
No.
It's funny too, because
This
now that
was-
you want the cat to be on camera, it'll probably want to run away.
Yeah, he knows there's food like immediately behind him, and he's like, "Okay, look, either
Oh yeah,
settle or go."
that's funny.
Okay, he's gonna go.
Well, I hate to depart before everyone else again.
Oh, no worries. I'm about
really
to wrap it up
things to
anyway.
do.
So
My daughter leaves for a class trip on Monday. They'll be gone for a week, so they have been in the other room packing, and I'm going to go check on that. Yeah, I know you're enjoying the scratches. She's getting butt scratches right now. That's why she's all like this in my face. But
Well,
hey, Matt, it's great to talk to you again. Thank you so much for having me on again, dude. Like, I really do appreciate it. I love the conversations. It's been really good.
excellent. Well, glad to have you on, and thank you, folks, for tuning in. And Andrew, my friend, I guess we'll all probably go get back to work. I was thinking, oh yeah, good, I get to go relax. Nope, I gotta go wrap some plates. I'll take
Everyone
some
else
pictures.
that's watching, go get back to work too. Go get your grain hydrated. Don't forget the 24-hour soak. I see too many people skipping the 24-hour soak on your grain. Don't do it. Let it soak.
Right here. I was
Don't-
one of the cheaters. I boil mine for 30 minutes, and then I
You're
set it out
wrong.
on the
You're
counter.
so wrong.
We can both.
It could have been. I don't know. I mean, I only
telling
produced around 150 pounds a week.
Okay, well, maybe you have a little bit more experience than me, I guess. I'm just saying, the science says those what are they fucking called?
The endospores.
Those
Yeah, they need
spores.
to
Yeah,
soak.
they don't open up after 30 minutes. And I guess if you're pressure
Mhm.
canning the next day, that is 24 hours. But I've just found every time I do 24 hours, nothing.
Oh,
goes
it's probably better. You know,
Yeah.
I've not ever really tried the 24-hour soak, but I think like with the way that I did it, the reason that it gives it more time is because you are boiling it for 30 minutes, but you're also then laying it out to dry in, 3 to 4 inches of
Yeah.
pile of grain. And so it still sits in there and cooks. And I,
Yeah.
I would go through and turn it over and over, but I would end up having issues occasionally. And what I ended up backing into wasn't necessarily that, but the area in which I was drying them was over my sink. And my sink, all kinds of bacteria and mold. And so I think it just accumulated more because I wouldn't have, 150 pounds of grain go bad. I'd have like 2 or 3 bags go bad. And it would be the stretch that was across the sink. So, but anyhow,
Yep.
we'll
So-
sign out because we'll keep
Yep.
talking forever.
Yes, we would.
Yeah,
All right. Y'all have a good night.
All right, we'll catch you later, Jeff.
you guys too. Woo!
All right. Thank you for tuning in, folks.